Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Savvy Music Teacher Series, sponsored by Zeswitz Music. We are here with the music team at Garnet Valley School District in Pennsylvania, and we're here to talk about recruitment today and successes and challenges. This particular district has been pinpointed as a group that's doing a great job with recruitment in this fall 2020 scenario. So why don't we start with introductions? Who'd like to start? Jim.
Great. My name is Jim Olson. I am one of the elementary band directors. I share the duties in my building, and Jeff is, you'll meet in a second, he's at the other building. It's a 3 to 5 building that I'm in, and band starts in 4th grade for us. And I have been teaching in the district for, I think this is my 26th year. So the majority of it was at the middle school, but I've been at the elementary now for about this is my 4th year, I think.
Great. How about Jeff?
So I teach instrumental music at the other elementary school across the district, Bethel Springs. Bethel Springs is a 1 to 5 building. And just like Jim said, our district starts instrumental music in grade 4. So my day is mostly 4th and 5th grade instrumental lessons and a little bit of general music here and there. And this is my 16th year teaching at Garnet Valley.
Great, thanks. How about you, Jenna?
I have been in Garnet Valley for 14 years, and I teach orchestra at mainly at GVE Elementary School, 4th and 5th grade orchestra. I also do the after-school orchestra at Bethel Springs Elementary School. And I most recently started doing the high school orchestra also, grades 9 to 12, and this is my 2nd year at the high school. So I get to work with all sorts of orchestra students across the district, and it's really great.
That's wonderful. Awesome. And Doctor?
Yes, I'm Steve Selfridge. I'm the high school band director. For most of my time at Garnet Valley, well, this is my 20th year. It's amazing to hear how many years we've all been here. It goes by fast, doesn't it? But we've all been working together for a long time, which is great. I taught for 20 years at Garnet Valley. I spent most of that time at the elementary level and moved up 4 years ago to the high school level, teach the high school band.
Great. Now, I'm assuming the district's all functioning the same way right now. So my next question was about what your teaching scenario is right now. What have you been doing since school started in September, and what might be the changes might be happening on the horizon? Steve, you want to start with that?
Well, yeah, I'll just give the overview. We started, like a lot of schools, or I think maybe every school in Delaware County and Chester County, pretty much been doing the same thing. We started completely virtual. And when was the date that they announced that we were phasing in hybrid? I don't know if you guys remember, a couple of weeks ago.
It was early October.
Okay.
Like maybe the 1st or the 2nd.
Okay. Yeah. So they announced that the school district, has been of course, in close consultation with the health department, the Chester County Health Department, and based on the numbers, I think they were waiting to see how Labor Day turned out, how the numbers turned out after Labor Day. And our numbers were such that they decided we could move into the hybrid phase. So we have our K-2 who started 2 weeks ago, hybrid. They did it in a tiered process. And Jeff, and Jenna, you guys started this week, correct?
Yeah, this was the first
and
week.
Jim. Sorry, Jim, Jeff, and Jenna all started this week with hybrid. I don't start until Monday.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Well, let's take it back, first of all, to last spring. As you were coming to the end of the school year, where you probably would be normally thinking about recruiting for the next year, what discussions took place among you, about how you were going to face recruiting?
Well, does anyone want to talk about what we normally do with the instrument interview process?
Sure. I can mention that.
Okay.
So normally we, around the end of April, I send a letter home to all the 3rd grade parents, and just saying that we're going to start instrument interviews. And in May, right after concert season, in May, we meet with all the third grade students in small groups, and we let them, try out some instruments. And we have a little packet that we hand out that explains the program, and the students get to write down, 2 or 3 choices that they want to try out, and then we recommend an instrument, based on your physical features. And I still give the Gordon tests in general music, so I based a little bit off of that.
Tonal
And then
tonal and rhythm aptitude.
right, the aptitude tests. So I base a little bit off of that, and that's actually been really helpful. And we did our general music teacher at Bethel, Missy, she was able to squeak that in January last year. So I did have that this year. But yeah, we see how they do with the different instruments that they selected, and we give them a recommended instrument, a number 1 and a number 2 choice, and then we let them choose from there.
So then obviously we couldn't do that this past spring. So we were trying to think about alternate ways of how we could still let them make the most informed decision and make the best choice as far as an instrument to sign up for. So we did have a bunch of different discussions, about how can we do this so that it's not just a free-for-all with students signing up for whatever instrument they feel like. We still want them, to have an idea of the features of each instrument and what might suit them well, so they can make an educated choice and sign up for something that they're going to be successful with.
So with that in mind, we zoomed in, at least in GVE. I don't know if Jeff, you did this or not, but we zoomed into every homeroom during their music class. No, actually we went to homerooms. We actually went to the homeroom teachers and just visited and talked a little bit about each of the instruments, about like a 5 to 10 minute visit, and just gave them a brief overview of what the instruments did and if they sounded high or low or middle. And, just as much generic information we could to, like Jenna said, have them at least have a general idea of what they were getting into in terms of what the sound of the instrument was. I did play a couple things on clarinet for them and trombone, just so they could hear a little bit of, what a brass instrument sounds like and what a woodwind would sound like. So we just tried to tailor it that way in terms of get them thinking about it. And then, we decided that with our conversations, we decided that we would do the full out recruiting in September. Usually we do have it happen in May. We do the hard recruit right after after we do the interviews. So we decided to do it when we had further contact with them this year.
So you mentioned that well, Jeff said you sent a letter home to all the third graders. Did you have access to all the addresses of third graders, say over the summer? Did you send any communication home in the spring? Yep. that you would be starting in the September?
So Jeff actually really put a really great packet together to send to all the third graders. So it had a whole bunch of information about the program in general, but then it also had live links on it. So we sent it all home electronically, and students could watch a video for each instrument of the band or orchestra so that they could hear how it sounds. Again, trying to help them get an idea of, what sound is appealing to them. And some other videos that be part of the band or be part of the orchestra series. And I think that was helpful too. So we did send that packet out in the spring. And we got a few signups, but we didn't push it too much in the spring because, like Jim said, we kind of wanted to do more recruiting in the fall when we were all back. So we just edited that and sent it again in September, along with visiting all of the homerooms, and that was more successful in September because I think in the spring everyone was so distracted and
I think in a normal year, we send home a physical packet with the student after they've met with the teacher, the music teacher, and had their instrument interview, we call it, or instrument tryout. But in this case, we did an emailed packet. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing we usually couple with that hard copy in a normal year is we have a summer music program. So we offer that, the kids can get a head start if they, we run a beginner class, and it's usually a 4-week program. Is that right? So
Something like that. We've played around with it in the last few years, but it's usually about that length.
Did you do anything with the summer program online this summer or no? Cancel it all?
no, we decided not to do anything. The district actually was wanting us to not do a lot of activities. They basically shut every outside activity down.
Mhm.
So, we didn't have that to get our Head Start kids in. But honestly, I think the recruiting has gone pretty well, all things considering, that we didn't get a chance to, physically try out instruments with them. And it's been more of a generic, just like try to highlight things and let them, get that decision making.
So I wanted to touch on the videos. Did you guys make any of the videos for the instruments, or did you find them on YouTube or use Mr. Selfridge's videos?
We linked the Be a Part of the Music, but we also linked the Zeswitz. Back in the spring, Mike had created a website for us with all the instrument demonstrations on there. So that was really helpful.
So those Andy's videos.
Yeah.
Andy Moeller. Okay, great. Yeah, he worked hard on all those. That's great. All right, let's dive into the fall here, and why your rental numbers are so good at the moment. So, what have you been doing that you think has been successful in terms of your engagement with the kids and starting beginners, right? And what are your challenges? So feel free to go in either direction. Who would like to start?
I can mention. So as Jenna mentioned back in the spring, Jim mentioned, we visited all the 3rd grade classrooms. I actually did that again. I don't know if you guys did. I did again in the spring. I contacted all the, now 4th grade teachers, and I asked them if I could just pop into one of their Zooms in the beginning of the year. And I did a little, 5 to 10 minute spiel and told them that now's the time to sign up. And I think I got a bunch after doing that. So that was really helpful.
We did the same thing. And we did it right away. Like Jim and I started doing that probably the first day of school. We started popping into the homeroom Zooms, and same thing. Now is the time to sign up. And I think that's really when our signups started coming in, was when, they could see us on the Zoom and get to chat with us for a few minutes and ask any questions that they might have. And just be reminded that, hey, we're starting soon and it's really exciting and this is one of the best things to do in the school. Just, get the morale up a little bit. I think that helped a lot.
So when you guys, where are you directing them? Do you direct them? You said you have a website on the Zeswitz. You have a page, your school page on the Zeswitz website. Is that correct?
We started to develop that, but we decided that we would use the recruiting videos and just use our form that we sent out and just include the Zeswitz link in the form to do the rental. We just made that nice and easy.
Great.
One-stop shopping.
All right. Have there been any challenges in the rental process? With kids getting their instruments, dropping them off?
We did the pickup night last week or so, and it was really fantastic. Mike Arena came out and just brought the whole truckload of instruments, and he took care on his end of having all the parents sign up for a time slot. So, he showed up with his crew and set everything up, and in a nice socially distanced fashion, parents pulled up at their allotted time at the curb, picked up the instrument, and off they went. And that was really great. And I would say we were able to get a majority of the instruments out that way. Yeah. And then, a few more are still trickling in here or there. So we're just handling it on our end as they come in. We're just emailing the parents and giving them a few options of when they can swing by and pick it up. And, for the string instruments, I do a tuning check on them ahead of time, make sure they're in tune, and put it out on the bench, and the parents are coming by and grabbing them. And it's been really easy. So I would say that's gone really well, and Mike has definitely helped to make that a smooth process. Really, the only challenge that I've seen, and it hasn't even been too much of a challenge, is just parents asking questions about instrument sizing for the string instruments. But that's a really simple answer to give them too. I mean, the Zeswitz site has a sizing chart on it, and I have some other diagrams of instrument sizing and how to measure from, you know, from here to here to the palm of your hand, and I can pretty easily instruct the parents over email of how to order the correct size. And if it ends up not being the correct size, we can always switch it out, and that's not, you know, a big deal either. But really, that's been my only really thing so far, I think.
I think it was really helpful for us. Normally we start the beginners around the last week of September, but we pushed that back to, well, they're going to start lessons next week. October 19th is the first week for fourth grade lessons. I think that extra 2 to 3 weeks was extremely helpful for the parents because it gave them more time to get signed up and just more time. That's what they need this year, more time. And the fact that I feel like we got all of our information out to the parents that first or second week of September. So they had a full month to make a decision and contact us if they needed to.
Anything to add, Jim?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking, I mean, as far as success in the recruiting, I think something that kind of like came up when we did our introductions, and Steve mentioned it was amazing to hear how many years we had in, you know, collectively and individually. I think one of the things that helps us with our recruiting is we have a lot of families that have older siblings that have gone through the programs, and, you know, the district's music program is pretty solid all the way through. I mean, I don't want to, you know, we put a good product together.
You can toot our horn a little bit, Jim. It's okay.
Yeah, you know, so we put a good product together, and I think that reputation from the parents seeing, you know, the middle school concerts and the high school concerts and the elementary concerts too, the quality and the enjoyment that the kids get out of being in the group just automatically helps boost numbers because the parents feel confident sending their younger children to us. And then, you know, talking in the neighborhoods, if somebody's new, you know, we get a really good public report. So I think that helps with our reputation. Great.
Well, that's wonderful. Let's actually turn to PPE. Let's talk about that. What kinds of precautions and what have you invested in as since you're starting to, the kids are in school now, right? And Steve,
Yeah.
You're getting them next week, and you're going to start your lessons.
Well, we have actually invested in the most PPE possible. All of our lessons are virtual. So even though the school is in hybrid, we've all set up our lessons to be on the day that the kids are home. So for a couple reasons, it prevents the kids from walking around in the school district within the buildings more, so less traffic. And there's less disruption to the homeroom teachers' day when they do have them face-to-face. We're not pulling kids out, but it also makes it easier from the standpoint of aerosols and distancing, and, you know, because the elementary rooms, our teaching rooms are fairly, you know, it would be very difficult to get even 6 feet away from a larger group.
Some of us don't even have a window.
Yeah. So, you know, stuff like that. So we decided early on that it would just be a little bit easier for everybody involved if we did all of our lessons virtually. So, and luckily the administrators loved the idea and supported us on that all the way.
I think you guys were finding that, I mean, you were having so much success with your virtual lessons, and then there were so many problems that in-person lessons presented with, what do they call them? The cohorts, you know,
Yeah.
you'd be mixing cohorts, you know, the administrators really are working to keep students as much in their pod as possible. So if there is, you know, God forbid, someone who comes down with a case, there's fewer points of contact. So there were just so many issues, not to mention the small rooms, kids leaving their classrooms and mixing with other kids from other cohorts in your room, in a small room. So I think the solution that our elementary staff came up with was a stroke of genius there.
I think that was Jeff's light bulb moment, actually. He was the one who realized we should just do that. And like Steve said, there's a ton of different reasons we decided that. Another reason is for our after school rehearsals. That's when we meet with the full ensemble. And at the elementary level, there's actually a limit on how many students you're supposed to have in a room at one time, which I think is 14 or something like that. And that would never be possible with after school ensembles, because they're so large. So, you know, having those on Zoom too allows everyone to attend safely, and you know, we don't have to play around with the schedule and try to schedule kids on different days for ensembles and things like that. So,
well, I didn't want to get too much into the teaching methodologies and stuff since we were here to talk about recruitment, but I really think we could talk about just briefly what your plans are, since you all are teaching virtually, in terms of teaching lessons, teaching beginners, but you know, getting the first sounds. I know a lot of people are concerned with how you teach embouchure and all that sort of thing if we're going to be virtual. What are your thoughts starting beginners? Because I know you didn't have to deal with that in the spring. You know, that's a new thing for you. And also with your rehearsals, your full rehearsals. How are you going to adapt to running those?
So our beginner lessons that start next week, since the students are all at home virtual, at least from my standpoint, I think I'm going to pretty much go at it the same way I would if they were in person. I'm going to have my, you know, my beginner spiel that I go with, and I'm just going to teach it virtually. Not much is going to change. We do have our YouTube sensation, Steve, who has an awesome beginner YouTube channel. And that's been extremely helpful. I came up with a little beginner flyer with the links that to Steve's beginner lessons. I think there's like at least 3 or 4 beginner lessons for every instrument. And that's just going to save me a lot of time and frustrations virtually to show them how to put a reed on and how to do this and that. Yeah, so I'm going to be using them a lot. I've already emailed them home because the students got their instruments last week, a lot of them. So they have a good 2 weeks before we even start lessons. So those videos were helpful with that. So they don't come to or go home with broken instruments, you know.
Yeah, you know, I'm glad you just mentioned that, because I was going to ask that before and I forgot to. Since the students were receiving their instruments a week or 2 ahead of coming into school, did you provide any instructions on either how to put the instrument together or what not to do? Don't touch anything until I see, you know, I don't know. So you just said you actually sent the links home to videos for them. How about the Jim and Jenna?
Yes, I did something similar. I mean, well, Steve doesn't have any string videos on his channel, you know, but
I'm trying to recruit Jenna, but you know.
So I'm creating some videos or searching YouTube to find things that are already done that are, you know, high quality videos, and putting them all into units on Schoology and on Seesaw platforms. So by the week. So basically whatever I'm going to teach in week 1, whether it's, you know, rest position and ready position and how to safely take your instrument out of the case, there's going to be videos of that on Schoology that they can go to, and they can rewatch that at home either before or after the lesson. And like we said, I sent that stuff out early too, since they picked up their instruments early. I made sure to post those first few lessons, you know, as soon as the instruments went home, that was ready to go on Schoology. How to take care of your instrument, how to unpack it safely, how to pack it back up, how to sit tall in your chair. So I think the plan is to have a matching video, like what Jeff was saying, for each lesson that they can access on their own time and watch it as a review, or if they need a reminder of what we learned in lessons. And I also sent home in an email, just in one of my general information emails the other day to 4th grade parents, I just included a paragraph really about how to set up your camera angle at home for success, because the one thing I'm a little worried about with strings is being able to see the students well enough to see their hand position and their finger position and their holding position. So, you know, I want to make sure all the students are camera on, first of all. And that I can see their whole upper body, or for cello players, I need to be able to see their entire body, really, so I can see their knees and their feet. How to have good lighting, which is the opposite of what I have right now. I'm sorry, I'm in a dark cave. And, you know, just so that we can be as successful as possible. So hopefully they read that and they set themselves up a good lesson space at home where they can sit on a sturdy chair and all of that good stuff just to help us along a little bit.
And I've been stressing the idea of making sure every student has a music stand. That's
That too.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of ceiling fans lately.
Yes.
The iPad on the ground, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's really important.
Anything to add, Jim?
No, actually, pretty much everything that Jeff and Jen have talked about is the same thing for me. Our administrators are pretty keen on having us be not in lockstep about everything exactly the same, but have a really high degree of compatibility between the buildings. So we all generally have, just like the recruiting and this type of beginning things, we all do the same basic ideas. So, I've linked stuff to Steve's website, and, in some of my virtual classroom videos, I just put up a new video every once in a while of a new instrument clip so they can hear like jazz flute as opposed to regular flute, classical flute, and just different things like that for exposure.
And any specific online platform that you might be using?
We use Seesaw and Schoology are the two that we use.
I meant like a music platform, like using Smart Music at all, or Music First.
I don't use Smart Music myself, but I think Jeff and Jenna, you use it, right?
I've been using it with 5th grade.
Yeah.
Yep. I use it with elementary and with high school.
Great. Well, listen, I think the last thing I wanted to just ask you about, because I just love to hear this when I'm talking to teachers from a district, is to learn about what your music team is like, K-12, how you function elementary to middle to high school. I know you're all instrumental colleagues, but you have choral colleagues and your elementary music educators and so forth. What's the music team like?
Well, I'll lead off. First of all, we are, since this was a recruiting discussion, we don't have our middle level instrumental people with us, but they are an amazing team. Sherry and Eric, Sherry Kynet, Eric Wonder, and Amy Rothman is our middle school choral director. But I think one of the uniquely great things about our district is not only how we, our kids come up from kindergarten through 12th grade, and our music department gets along so well together, and we do a very good job of planning so the kids get a consistent experience all the way through, and we work very well together on those very difficult transitions when the kids are moving, switching buildings. 5th grade to 6th grade is really tough, but we really try to bridge that gap in the 8th to 9th grade.
Great. Anybody else want to add anything?
I think we have a great department, and I live an hour away, and I still choose to work there and drive an hour there and back every day because my coworkers are so great, and you can't find that everywhere.
We're grateful for that.
I think we're really lucky. We all get along really well. And these 3 guys right here, I've worked closely with all of them in many different ways over the years, and I've worked closely with the middle school folks too. Steve mentioned that Eric Wonder is the middle school orchestra director, so him and I have a great relationship. I do the elementary, so the kids go from me to him in middle school, and now most recently then they come back to me at high school. So Eric and I really work closely together with transitions and planning, and we both know all of the kids, and we can collaborate, and it's really great.
We also have a lot of, as Jim was saying, the older students, the parents know that their kids had such a great experience, but the kids and the parents also see we work so well together, so we end up working together in various capacities. So Jim and Jeff work with our high school marching band as part of our staff at the high school. So we're always crossing each other's paths. We're occasionally stopping into each other's buildings and saying hello to former students, and then recruiting our upcoming students. And I think the kids see that vibe that's happening in our department, and that helps. That can only help.
Oh yeah, Yeah, absolutely. That's really important. Well, listen, I want to thank you guys for all you do, you've done and continue to do for your students. It's amazing. I also realized, I think a few minutes ago, that I don't think I ever introduced myself. So for anybody who's watching this, my name's Keith Hodgson. I'm Director of Education for Zeswitz Music, and I also am Director of Music Education at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia, and currently serve as the Eastern Division President for the National Association for Music Education. So thank you for joining us today for this conversation, and thanks to the Garnet Valley Music Team.
Thanks to
Thank
Keith.
you.
Thanks to Zeswitz. We appreciate everything you do for us.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
See you later.